Hello guys and girls, and welcome to episode 30 of the VR Inside podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on Nathy's YouTube channel. You can tune into the show live at 4 p.m. in Europe, 3 p.m. in the UK and 9 a.m. in Central US. If you missed the podcast, you can catch up with the whole show as I re-upload it every Sunday to my own YouTube channel, Virtual Reality Oasis. Or check out the audio-only version, which is available on Google Play Music and on iTunes. So this week, we're trialing a new way to capture our audio, so we'd be really interested to know your feedback on how it sounds. So let us know in the comments or leave us a review on iTunes. We'd really love to hear your feedback. If you've got any questions or comments during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. So if you're new to the show, which I have no idea why you would be, but let me introduce you to this group of gunters. First up, some people say that this guy is the Santa Claus of VR, or should I say Sinti Claus, because everywhere he goes, he gives presents to people. It is, of course, Nathy. How you doing, man? You all right?
I am Santa Claus. I am, right?
How did you say it, Mike? Like the Dutch version?
Sinti Claus?
Cindy Claus.
I'd love to know. Tell me.
It comes Sinterklaas.
Sinti Claus. All right, so it's not Klaus.
It's
you were talking about.
It's Sinter.
So he was talking about the Dutch version of Santa Claus. I didn't even know this was like a strange accent you were pulling up there, but I appreciate the effort there. But yes, I am Santa Claus. You know, if you see me, I have candy, I have VR headsets. You know, I just take them with a sack on my back, and then it's like, you know, if you see me, then you're the lucky one, and it depends on what I have to offer at that moment. You know, it could be a Vive Pro. It could be a Pimax, if that fits into my sack.
Could be some Ready Player One merch, right? You're giving away a lot of Ready Player One stuff.
Yeah, right now I do. So if you want to join my giveaway, then go to my channel, and you can win underwear, caps, Funko Pop, stuff like that. But hey, yeah, but I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. This next guy, he has made it as a VR VIP. He's getting invited to premieres. He's getting free popcorn. He has made it in life. It is, of course, our resident rowdy guy. How are you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm doing great, buddy. I'm doing great. Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun to be getting invited, and especially the huge bag of popcorn. I normally don't eat any popcorn, so yeah, that was a big assignment for me to finish that one. But yeah. I'm doing great.
Yeah, good to hear it, man. Some say that this next guy, he should have been in the pod race in Star Wars, as he is the true anti-gravity racing champion. It is, of course, Zimtok 5.
Whatever his name is, Beckett, it happens to the best of us, Mike. It's okay. I'm good. I actually.
How you doing?
I was expecting to be at least somewhat nauseated after my nearly 7-hour run of Wipeout yesterday, but
wow. No, tip my hat to you.
Perfectly fine. You can call me Ironsides from now on, because Beckett, I got my VR legs.
You certainly do. You certainly do. And last but by no means least, myself, the host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Wipeout, the Omega Collection on PSVR. Can your eyeballs keep up with this fast and furious anti-gravity racer? Who knows? We'll soon find out. The HTC Vive Pro, the team has been tirelessly testing this headset. Does it live up to the hype? We'll soon find out. And also our Ready Player One spoiler cast. We've all been searching for the elusive Easter egg this week, and we'll give our thoughts on the movie, but we'll be clear before we go into any spoilers, so don't worry. You can continue watching the show, and we'll be superbly clear when we're going to talk about spoilers, so don't worry. Hang on in there for now. So let's start off the show with finding out what everyone's been up to this week. We're going to keep this sort of short and sweet this week, narrow it down to sort of one game, one experience per person, because sometimes these kind of eat up a lot of our time, and then we have to drop topics later on in the show. So let's kick it over to Rowdy first. Find out what you're up to this week, dude. I'd love to know.
Yeah, I haven't been able to play this much this week, also because of the premiere. I've played a game of the Wizards. I've played a Wizard game called Once. I've played that one, and then I've played Combat Tested, and that is one that I actually really enjoyed. It's one with you have telekinetic powers, and you can like lift things up and like throw them back down. You can make swords like appear in your hands, and they're like some kind of energy sword that you can like throw away as well. But the neat part of it is really like the kinetic kind of stuff. Like you have like enemies, and you're way overpowered. Like it's ridiculous how much power you have, and you have like other ones that come at you with like guns. But what you can literally do is just like pick them up and then throw them into the wall and then throw them into the other wall. And it's a lot of fun to be doing that. You also have like certain power-ups. There's not a lot to the game yet in its entirety. It's mostly doing that, but it's so much fun to do that. So yeah, that's pretty much what I played. And I played around with the Vive Pro, of course.
Cool. I'm looking forward to your thoughts on the Vive Pro, definitely.
Yeah,
so this game you were talking about, what is it called again?
Combat Tested.
Okay, cool. And this is a Steam title, I take it?
Yeah, it's a Steam title. I actually don't know if it's also on the Oculus Rift. I'll look that up for you.
Okay, cool.
I got a question for him. How does the name link? Because Combat Tested to me sounds like an Onward-like game. It doesn't sound like a game where you've got special powers.
The story goes a little bit that you wake up in a laboratory and they've been doing some tests on you, and those tests has rendered you with like these kind of like telekinetic powers, but you have escaped. And now the main goal of the game is basically going from like -30, which is like an underground kind of lab, up until like the first floor and then escape the facility.
Sounds like, that's like Resident Evil, isn't it? Where you come up from underneath. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It kind of like, I think it's a little bit inspired by that. Not, of course, with the telekinetic powers, since they feel really different, but like the setting indeed, yeah. And I just looked it up on Steam. It's indeed on Oculus Rift as well, but I don't know if it's on the Oculus Store.
Wait, so you can escape in this game? It's this sounds to me, Rowdy, like a futuristic prison boss game.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know if you can actually escape because I haven't gotten that far. Maybe it's just at the end like, great, you can escape now, which is possible because it's a very, very plain game at the moment.
Cool. No, that sounds super interesting. So what about you, Zen? What have you been up to this week?
Couple of titles. I'll say what I played and then I'll go into one of them. So the main ones I've played are Wipeout, Omega, I mentioned. So free VR pass to that one. Arc Park, Worlds at War, which is like a helicopter sim. Which I thought was like a military helicopter sim, but actually ends up being like aliens are invading and you got to blow them away, which looked very pretty. Very, very limited gameplay in that one. And the last one was Shadow Core VR, which I played multiplayer. So out of those, I'll touch on Arc Park because it's the one that I was expecting to just shite all over it and say this is terrible, like all that. It's actually not awful, and I think anyone with kids is going to find that it's very good. There's actually a lot more to it than I was expecting there to be. So it's not just skin deep. And there was a bit where you get these dinosaur miniatures, and the miniature, you throw them, and then they blow up into a giant dinosaur. That scared the shit out of me because there was a T-Rex. I'm like, oh, right, a cute little thing. And I threw it, and like some of the dinosaurs you can pick up, and they just like wiggle in your hands like this cute little animal. So if they had taken... I haven't gone too deep into the game, but we spent maybe an hour and a half at it, and my wife and I both played, and actually, it's got a lot of very good animations. I think someone who's, a single player looking for an experience that's really going to satiate their desire for like a dinosaur game, like Rowdy, probably won't be so much for them. But I think for people who are more dipping their toes in, I think it's okay as a taster. But
I played it as well, and
for full
price. I agree with you, Sim. It's indeed like at full price is a little bit. I don't know if I should
half that
buy
price
it,
I'd be okay.
There are a few things that are indeed very well done. I think the thing that I enjoyed most of it was the train ride at the beginning.
Oh, really?
You get on that train and you're speeding towards the park, and you have like these jets that fly by, and you have like a mosasaurus that like jumps out of the water. I think that was really, really cool. And you also have like those forest trails where you can get and ride on a dinosaur, and you see like all those kind of things. I think that stuff is neat, but all like the shooting and that kind of stuff for me.
Yeah. You can ride on the dinosaur. I'm sold. So you can ride on the back of like a Velociraptor or a T-Rex or whatever? Okay, I'm sorry.
We haven't yet.
This game out.
Oh, for us, it was a bit more like once you got in, it's so funny because I started playing the game and I was like, well, great, that's just a fucking museum with the dinosaurs around and this is so boring. And then my wife goes in, she like unlocks this level system and starts going level to level. There's a whole progression in it, which actually at one stage gets quite infuriating. You're trying to figure out how to unlock certain puzzles. So I would actually call it as kind of like a museum/puzzle game. And that first sequence that you just mentioned, Rowdy, I still have an issue. Because anyone who's played the original Half-Life, if you're on a train ride like that into a city or whatever, you're just like, fucking copycats. I mean, it was 15 years ago, but I'm still like, you bloody copycats. That was Half-Life's thing. You can't have that.
That's true.
So that's what I played.
I'm not like that. Sorry.
was there also a mysterious man like in your sights talking to you like, hey Zim, you know, like Mr. Zim, like that, or nothing?
I am so confused. I'm gonna assume you mean it's you with the candy and the white van outside. So no, I don't think you've quite found us yet.
Okay.
Just touching on Art Park quickly, like
in the right place.
Did you play it, Mike?
No, I haven't played it, but
okay.
It sounds kind of interesting. But a lot of criticism that I've heard is essentially boils down to being a wave shooter at heart, right? Is that correct? Or
so
not?
there's only like a module that's wave shooter, and actually I find that it feels so wrong because the first bits that you do in the game, if you do it in sequence, you do all the bits where you see like the cute dinosaurs, almost like pets, and then they have you shoot the dinosaurs. My wife was like, this is just wrong. And I was like, I feel the same way. I'm just gunning down these cute dinosaurs. What the heck is going on here?
You need to make them hatch. Like, you need to bring like an egg and like bring it to the incubator and all of that. So like something goes up. We need to kill all of them now.
It's so bad.
That is so cruel. First you have like a friendship with a fun dinosaur, and then the next moment you need to kill it, and it's forcing you to do it, I guess.
I need a Barney mod. That's all that's going to make the game for me. Just mod Barney in there, and then we're good.
I also haven't played it yet, but I like as Mike said, like not only the wave shooter was a part where people like. I think it's not that bad. Like in the end, it turned out to be a pretty good game, and where you can do all kinds of stuff. But I heard like teleportation and maybe also performance issues, sounds that kind of and things like that are kind of the deal breaker here, right?
Yeah, there's some redeeming value to it. It's certainly not a must buy, and it's also not
overpriced
trash
at the moment.
It's just kind of it's overpriced. I think if it was 15 quid or 15 or 12 pounds or something, I'd be fine with it at that price. But
yeah. It kind of reminds me of the Island 359 because like there were some really cute dinosaurs in there that made this really cute sound. They're like jumping towards you, and you just like boom, like
the chickens,
away.
The chicken dinosaurs.
So wrong.
Yeah,
so wrong.
But that's actually that's another one that I think they keep adding to it. And the base game initially I thought, God, this looks like a wave shooter. It's actually a bit of fun. Island 359 is actually a bit of fun.
They recently sent me like the Vive trackers, so now I can like attach them to my feet and then like kick the dinosaurs as well.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Is that actually possible?
Yeah.
You can do that. You can do that. You can kick a dinosaur in the face.
With Island 359. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some life goals right there. Kick a dinosaur in the face.
With the small dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. So, what about you, Nathan? What have you been up to this week, dude?
Well, I need to keep it short, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I played Kin.
Oh, did you like it?
Is that like that's my summary? No, but that's just a joke, of course. It was very funny. But yeah, Kin is an indie title by a Dutch development studio who also made a Surge, a music experience for the DK2. They also made Apex. It's like one of those classic. And they also made something where you could walk around on Mars. It was like the first actual like DK1 demo where you could walk on Mars and you could just walk around a bit. It was like simple, but they made Kin, and it's a third-person platformer game. So you can add it to the lineup of Lucky Still and then Mars and then Edge of Nowhere and Chronos, etc., etc. But it's a very colorful game. The story is getting told through like animations and you're just looking from above. There is not really, like with Mars, you kind of had that connection where you actually play a character too. You know, you're like a guardian, a ghost that just looks at how Mars, the Quill, the mouse, is just walking around. But with like Kin, it's just, the story tells itself by just what you do and what you play. And it sometimes has like a cutscene. And it's a simple platform where you have like one big, like, for example, cube where you have like different levels where you need to jump over and you need to fight different enemies, and it just progresses by itself. But it's a fun game. It's one of those hidden gems on Oculus Home that no one really knows about, that I always like think is a shame, because they should definitely promote more games like the ones that kind of fall behind. But it's nice. It is. Of course, like third-person platformers are still like a niche, and not everyone is a big fan of that. But seriously, if you've never tried a third-person VR game before, just go give it a try, and then say what you think about it. Because people are always like, yeah, but on the 2D screen, I don't see the potential. But, you know.
I think Moss really changed my view on that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And talking about Moss, like, you know, I was lucky this week. You know, if you guys followed the video, like me and Nathan were in VidCon last week, and we were there together, and he was kind enough to give me a PSVR. So I'm like super fortunate. Like, thanks very much, dude, again for like the PSVR. It was like such a ball ache getting it through the airport, but it was like totally worth it. Obviously,
that's exactly what I thought about when I saw it. I was like, Mike is gonna not have the space for that thing.
Yeah, no, it was totally fine, like getting it through in the end. But yeah, so as soon as I got home, I ordered myself a PS4 Pro. I got like the white version, so it looks like really cool. And got it all set up within a couple of days. And yeah, I've been playing around with the PSVR, and so far, like my initial impressions are really, really good. Like they weren't that high, like my expectations, but actually, like trying it, I was very impressed actually how it stacks up against like.
What did you think actually of the image clarity?
Very nice. Very nice.
It's impressive, right?
It is, and I'm not quite sure how they do it, because I haven't researched it that much myself yet, because I'm going to do a video on it in the future of how it compares to the other headsets that I've tried. But I don't know if it's because they use a single panel over using dual panels that they can get that image clarity and that resolution.
They don't use Fresnel lenses. Yeah, that is a big thing already.
Makes a big difference.
Right.
So you actually go back to like DK2 days, right?
Right.
They don't use Fresnels, and also the pixel density they have. I think every pixel is again divided in 3 more subpixels, which means that you actually have more clarity in your screen. That way.
Right. But yeah, I thought it looked super nice. Like as soon as you get that sweet spot, really impressive. And I
very
think
colorful too. You know, like in terms of brightness and contrast, it's very nice.
Yeah, and like, you know, just setting it up was fairly straightforward. You just connect it to your PlayStation 4 or your PlayStation 4 Pro. I think the only niggles I had really with the setup procedure was that the eye camera that comes with it, the cable is fairly short. So I had to buy like an extension cable to extend it up to 2 meters to put it like. The thing is, like, it's probably quite unusual for someone having to do that, because they just probably mount it on their TV or whatever where they have their like setup. But for me, it's a bit awkward. But I got one of those, and since then it's been fine. And then also the link box. Like the link box is like when you're standing up, it kind of is around your knee area, and it's such a weird place for a link box to be. Like, so that was a bit strange as well. But that's the one. Zim's showing it on camera right now. But I think from the new model of the PSVR, they've actually extended that cable so you don't have that issue anymore. So it's just with the OG PSVR. But no, I've been really pleasantly surprised of how it performs, and I bought a few games as well. So I've got Moss, I've got Static, because Rowdy recommended that one on the show, and it looked really interesting. And when I jumped into it and tried it for about 5 minutes, I thought this is a game I'm really going to enjoy, because it's kind of your hands are like stuck in the box for those that don't know about Static. And you can look around the box, and it's all based on the controller inputs, but it's so cleverly done, like the puzzle elements in that game. So I'm really looking forward to that one. I've also got a Farpoint with the PS Aim controller, because that was the second part of Nathan's very kind gift. And then as I'd got the PlayStation set up, Wipeout literally just launched. So of course I tried that out as well.
Best timing ever.
Yeah, it was really good timing. So, but we'll obviously talk about Wipeout a bit more in a minute. So, yeah, like overall first impressions of the PSVR, very good. And also later on, we're going to be talking about some sweet deals that have just come out for the PSVR as well. Yeah. So if you haven't got one and you've got a PS4 or a Pro, then now is a great time to pick one up.
It's one of those moments again.
It is completely. But the great thing about this sale, which we'll talk about shortly, is that it's open up to Europe as well. So we're no longer being left out, which is really nice.
Yay.
Oh, and the best part here, I'm also going to say, because Chad has said it, and I have to underline the same thing. It says, Mike needs to play Resident Evil 7 on PSVR.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do, totally. Like, I would totally play that on the PSVR. But the only thing I don't have right now is the Move controllers. Do you need that to play Resident Evil?
You don't need it. No. I didn't. I played it with DualShock, I think.
Oh, you can play it with the DualShock?
Yeah.
There's a lot of games. Have you guys heard the rumor of Resident Evil getting maybe VR support on like Steam as well.
Yeah, I've
I did
heard
hear that. Yeah.
PCification might be coming soon.
I feel like I've been waiting for it my whole life.
Our source is Paradise DK, so you never know, never know. But let's see and find out what happens. But that could be cool.
They are bringing it out. They'll have to, right? So I mean, it has to come some.
It's a missed opportunity. They can just
Totally.
well, it's not as easy as putting a USB stick into some kind of Steam server, but it's let's say it's fairly easy to do it.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, like it was PlayStation that paid for the exclusive, so that exclusivity must be running out soon, surely.
Of course. Yeah, that's also that's the thing as well. Yeah, true.
That's the counter. That's the counter kind of rumor that I've heard, though, is that maybe the exclusivity has been extended another year. That's what I'd heard, but I don't know if that just came out of space. Someone could just have said that on Reddit or something.
Yeah. So let's dive into our first topic of this week's show, and that is Wipeout the Omega Collection on the PSVR. So this week, there was a free update to Wipeout the Omega Collection on the PlayStation 4, adding support to the PSVR. And as I literally just got a PSVR, obviously thanks to Nathy, I thought it'd be an awesome time to jump into the game and check it out. So I bought it on the PSN. If you're interested in picking it up yourself, you can pick it up on the PlayStation Network. It's $29.99 in British pounds. $39.99 in US dollars. If you pick up the physical copy, like on Amazon or from like a shop, then it's a little bit cheaper. Like you're going to save yourself a couple of quid, a couple of bucks. But you can also pick it up secondhand and then just have the free update as well. So
you can actually get it half price at the moment in game for £14 in the UK. Yeah. So if you happen to be in the UK, then that's a very good price. I had someone yesterday on my stream literally go out, buy it, and come back while I was still streaming.
Nice, nice. Like £14 is a great price for that game because so much content. Because you've got Wipeout 2048, Wipeout HD, and Wipeout Fury all in one bundle, and you can play all of them in VR. Like as soon as you just fire up the game, you put a VR headset on, like the PSVR, the whole menu system, everything's in VR. So they've done an amazing job. Bearing in mind this is like a free update. And I love it when devs do this. Like a Pancake game, they update it with VR support, and then if you own it and a VR headset, then you're just getting like a juicy bonus, right? Whereas other sort of devs seem to sort of say, oh no, you have to rebuy the game that you bought in a Pancake version just to buy the VR version.
And the thing I'd say,
Bethesda.
I mean,
there's also a difference between the games, of course. I think it will be a little bit more intrusive to be making a game like Skyrim VR than it is a racer. I think that's already a difference in terms of development.
Yeah. Think about the quality, right? I mean, you have to check every mesh in the entire game for Skyrim. I mean, that is enormous work for a QA team to do. Whereas, I'm going to basically VRify my cockpit or third-person camera and make sure that works. And there are some bits of it. For instance, if you're sitting in the cockpit and you look sky high, you can see that the animated planes that are flying over you stop at a certain position because you can't. Yeah, because you can't. So I mean, there's things like that have missed, let's say, the VRification boat. But there's only so far you can go with it. But I did find that the one thing that stood out to me, two things that stood out to me very strongly in comparison to other VRified games. Firstly, the options that they have for comfort that are on by default in that. There's a good range of options, and you can switch them off and on and all. But there's about 8 different settings, which most VRified games don't get. They usually get a very light touch, so that was nice. And then the second thing that I thought was really impressive was the fact that you can float in your cabin. So you can lock your camera to the pilot instead of the ship. And if you do that, then it feels like you're on a bloody boat. And it's a little bit dizzying for the first maybe 5 minutes, even for those of us with VR legs. But once you get it, it's awesome feeling like you're actually in this hovercraft. Very cool. Mike's like, nope!
Did you play it that way?
Yeah, played it that way all 6.5 hours.
You are mental. I don't know how you do it because I tried it. And it instantly almost hit me like the nausea. And this is the thing, like I was quite surprised because I'm quite susceptible to motion sickness, surprisingly, even though I've like played a lot of VR stuff. But there was a ton of warnings at the beginning, like, this is a really intense game. It's very like susceptible to motion sickness. So I was like, well, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this. Played it and I was like, wow, this is really comfortable to play actually. I didn't have any motion sickness at all. So then I started playing around with the settings a bit like you did, and locked the camera to the pilot view, played it, and I was like, oh dear God, like I need to stop this like immediately. It hit me so fast.
Why is that? Why is that? Why does that hit you more like the pilot view? Like what is so special about that?
They're very, very clever, like Zim says, the way they've set it up by default. So your head is locked to the cockpit, so you don't have to, if you move your head around, it's just locked to that single position. And then basically the HUD stays in a central place. And then when you start the race, some blinkers come down to block out your peripheral vision. So movement isn't going in your peripheral vision. Okay. And then, so you're just focused on the track. And although it's really fast and really intense, it's actually quite comfortable. Like the ship rotates around the locked HUD. So it actually feels fine to play it that way. But to play it locked to the pilot's head, you must be mental. I don't know how you do it.
Mike is really not going to believe my comment on this one. I find Wipeout to be painfully slow at the start. Yeah. It's a very paced beginning until you're about 3 hours into the unlocks. It doesn't really get very fast. I'm comparing it to the best PC equivalent I can compare against. And actually, my preference of the two is called Redout, which has a whole full span of tracks, which I like the music, the track design, the car design, and just overall gameplay-wise better. And it's faster and it's more hardcore. So actually, I find Wipeout to be quite a big step back, but I'd never played a Wipeout game before. I'm a big fan of F-Zero. As I said, Redout and Wipeout is good. I mean, it's a solid game, and it's a great VRification of the existing three games. And it plays very well. It's very solid. The visuals are great. There's no frame drops or anything like that. The game is smooth as glass, which is nice. Really and smooth. The online mode, I don't know if you hopped on online, but it feels very fair. Playing with online players, like there's some people who are just like feckin' awesomely good. Obviously there would be because it's too deified, right?
Is it crossplay with the VR and with the regular players?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does. So that's why I said like it feels fair.
Yeah.
Say again?
You don't feel at a disadvantage, no, being in VR. You don't feel at a disadvantage. No. I wouldn't say.
Advantaged?
No. I wouldn't say
I wouldn't say more advantage. No, but it's like Zim says, it's very fair. I think
it's not like you find an advantage that you can, for example, look to your left when you're using like the pilot view or.
Like opposed to Zim, like I thought it was really fast. Like just because I haven't played Wipeout for such a long time, I jumped in. I was like, I was sitting there on the track, and it just went 3, 2, 1, go, and I was like, oh my days, like this is awesome. Like it just felt really fast.
It is.
And then the bits where you were going up like vertical buildings and then dropping down the other side just felt amazing. Like really, really great.
Oh, that's nice.
But I was a huge fan of Wipeout as a kid. I remember trading in my Super Nintendo with a ton of games and like the Super Scope, going into game and like picking up a PlayStation and Wipeout, the original one. I remember getting it home and just thinking it was like the most futuristic looking thing I've ever seen in my life. And the soundtrack was so good as well. So it was really sort of like, it hit me in the nostalgia feels like playing Wipeout in VR. It was
talking about that, looking at the chat, we have another person that has a little bit like nostalgic feelings going on. Like Crash Organism says, I loved Wipeout, the first one. Friends call around, linking PCs and smack talking each other. And we also have someone who played the new one as well, the PlayStation VR version. That guy as well, VR says, I played with the blinders off and camera locked to pilot for hours. It's great.
Yeah, it's fucking fantastic.
Wow. See, I envy people that can do that, but like I think everyone needs to understand that people have their limits. Like even people that are like, you know, like.
Limits are made to be broken, Mike. We will fix you. We will fix you.
You're just gonna see me a mess, heaving like a dog on the floor, like after a couple of minutes.
So this is what I love about PlayStation VR. They don't play by the rules. They have always gone for like the limits with VR. I'm sure others would be like, yeah, well, let's maybe. So these titles are like, if you like speed, then...
I know what you're saying, Nathan, and I'm glad they have some balls, but I would also say they do something really painful, right? You have options there, you set them, playing multiplayer, and they snap you into a race. They force blinders and stuff on certain tracks where you can spin 180. So I don't know, Mike, if you did that, but they're combat races where as you're racing, you literally, within half a second, you flip backwards. And you're combating back and forth. So I didn't feel anything doing that. So I don't know. I guess some people are susceptible to it, but for me it was just like it was great.
You remember we played that tractor ball together? Like I felt it then as well.
Yeah.
So like I think I'm just one of those people that just get it every now and again.
You might just be extra susceptible to that kind of motion. But the thing is that locked to pilot motion, that seasickness almost motion of like this kind of wave. I can't say, because I know the different feels of, like, for me, horizontal flat spin kills me. Like my daughter spins me in my chair twice around, and I will be on the floor being like, "Oh, Daddy's got it," you know. But for the C-stick motion, for me, whatever, other than being a little dizzying at first, I didn't actually get any nausea, which was really nice.
I'm
The
super
only
jealous.
game I ever had that in was when I played together with Nathy. We played Serious Sam.
Oh, I remember that video.
That's serious.
The jumping
hopped
one.
on, we hopped on the trampolines, but the trampolines they threw you like 20 to 30 meters into the air.
Oh, right.
So you don't expect it. You go up and you go
Yeah.
and you start going down again. It was hilarious, but that did throw me off. Yeah.
I remember seeing that video. I can't believe how you guys. I still don't get how you guys do that. Crazy.
I've never been so excited for like an old game in VR. My God.
Yeah.
Was that the first one then? Was that Serious Sam like 1 or 2?
It was a very old school one.
Yeah. It was not like the VR versions. Like you have like the games that they made later that like
The wave
really,
shooter ones.
Yeah, the wave shooter ones. This one
right.
was more like the original Serious Sam, but then in VR.
Yeah, they're
it was
VR,
like-
yeah. Which are actually really good. They're great multiplayer fun, those.
Yeah. So let's talk about the PSVR price drop because we're talking about Wipeout. It's sort of fairly relevant. So previously we mentioned on the show that the PSVR had dropped in the US, but now there's some cross sort of C deals as well, international deals. So if you're in the US, in the EU, you can get in on this as well. So you obviously need a PS4 or a PS4 Pro to use this headset, but it's a great way of getting into VR. And as I've said, you know, I was really pleasantly surprised about how it performs. So I don't think you'll be compromising in any way if you sort of jump into PSVR compared to sort of PC VR headsets. I think the controllers maybe are the only limitation, but from some of the games that are PS4 exclusives, so far they've been really, really great.
You're saying that as a guy who hasn't used Move.
I haven't yet. So I will probably get some, but right now for all the games that I've got, I don't need them right now. So maybe maybe when I buy Resident Evil 7, I'll get some. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, if you want a PSVR right now, here are some sweet deals. So in the UK, let's start in the UK. There is a starter bundle which is available on Amazon. It's the PSVR headset with PlayStation Worlds and the camera that you need, and that is 259 quid. And that is like so ridiculously cheap for this technology.
In terms of price, quality, and the amount of fun that you get from a VR headset, PlayStation beats all of them out of the water.
Yep.
All of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Totally agree. I totally agree. So that is a great bundle if you know, you're just interested in getting the headset and you're gonna buy some downloadable games maybe. Then you've got the Doom VFR bundle, which was originally priced at $399, but has been reduced to $299, and that is £273. So you're talking about $300, just under 300 quid for the Doom VFR bundle.
Nice.
So these bundles, are they like getting sold through a specific website? Because I have been your reporter on the road yesterday, and I checked some prices in the stores here, and I saw PlayStation VR like only bundles where you only had the headset for, I don't know, like 350 euros.
It should be cheaper than that on Amazon.
So like are these? So it's only like internet sales, not like store sales.
Exactly. Yeah, because
I still have a backlog, like that they still want to get rid of.
Exactly.
But I usually don't see these deals in like the actual like physical stores.
No, you're right, because I checked on, like, Game is a big outlet in the UK, and I checked on their website, and they were still selling it at full price, whereas Amazon were selling it much cheaper. So if you're going to buy it, I'd say pick it up from Amazon, because I checked, and Amazon are running all these deals at this price.
But again, there's that weird spin in the UK in particular. I don't know how the other countries are, but physical boxed games sometimes are less expensive than what you find online or the digital copy, maybe because of the ease. But for those of us gamers who've been around a long time, like gaming in the 90s or just after the millennium swung, getting a digital version for more than the boxed version feels really odd, but that seems to be the way.
I never understood that, and I guess it's just a convenience that you don't have to go to a shop and actually physically leave your house, that you pay extra for it.
It's also probably because it's like an older price still, like that they have like a certain amount of numbers that they need to get rid of, and with a digital copy, there's no real cost into like storing these keys or these anywhere else. They're always available. That's the reason why Steam does so well.
This is the thing, right? Like I tried to find a physical copy of Moss, but you can't find a physical copy. It's just download only.
They don't have for everything.
Yeah, so same with Static as well. Like you'd have to buy downloadable code in the store to then take home and then unlock it. So,
but I think that indie developers do that often because they save themselves a cost with the production of all of these titles, which they then don't need to calculate through to their customers.
Yeah,
I think that's.
So the UK starter bundle was $259 in British pounds. Doom VFR bundle was $299. Just under £300 at £273. But also there is a Skyrim bundle. It's not available in the UK, but only available in the US. But it's a great bundle, and that includes Skyrim VR and also the motion controllers, like the motion controllers, the Move controllers. Sorry, and that's $349. Which is a great deal, I think, but that's not available in the UK. You have to buy that separately.
Little bit of a note on the Move controllers, though, because I think these bundles include the older ones, which I have, which have the micro instead of mini, or sorry, mini instead of micro USB charge. So if you prefer, if you got like Android devices and stuff, that's my biggest gripe. I'd almost buy another set just because, I'm used to charging my Vive controllers, my battery packs, all that stuff on one set of chargers off the wall. And for those, I have to have, because the PlayStation itself only has 2 USBs, one that you typically use for the headset. I find I stow my controller, my headset. I unplug the headset. I plug in the Move controllers. They sit there, charge them. It's kind of an annoying cable mess. So if you have the opportunity to buy the Move controllers, the newer edition, it's got the better port. So it's a small thing, but if you're like me and you care about that convenience, then you might care about it.
It's definitely worth noting because I wasn't aware of that. And also, I think most of these bundles that I'm talking about are going to be the original PSVR. So like the little niggles that I was talking about earlier, the link box is, halfway down the cable. And, the newer version has a better audio system implemented in it, and it's more ergonomic. If you really want to get the new one, then spend a little bit of money. But also, like in terms of console as well, Zim, because you've had experience on both the PS4 and the Pro, you would recommend going for the Pro, right? Because that's what you recommended to me. That's what I went and did myself.
Yeah, it's about initially it was like a 10% difference, and it was like very marginal. Now there's a fair number of games, VR games, that utilize that difference, and I certainly noticed the difference switching between the two. So I'd say it's about 20% difference, and it's worth the difference in price. The reason I say that in particular is, and if you buy into this ecosystem, it's a little different to the other ecosystems, because if you go down the Vive track or the Rift track, what you're getting, you could get another, souped up HMD down the road, because the box that is your PC, you probably whip some different motherboard or cards in and out of it in the future. But these guys, they're going to have to go for a new console before they go for a new headset. So it's a little bit of a shorter road, you know what I mean? So it's interesting, but at the same time, the beauty, and you'll probably see this after a few titles, Mike, is the beauty of PSVR is they know the equipment, they hit their frame rate, they've got the most exacting standards on the QA side. So for quality, if I want to play a game and I want to know that I'm going to get it at like perfect frame rate for me, the consumer into my eyeballs, I go on that system because it's so nice. It never stutters. It's great.
Yeah. I've heard that, actually, mirroring what you've said, that Sony are very, very strict. Same with Oculus as well, about the bar quality of titles when they get submitted to the store. They have some really thorough testing. You really need to hit the bar when it comes to quality, when it comes to submitting games to Sony, definitely. I agree.
So what happened to the Bravo team bundles? Where are they? Because they weren't selling. They should be aware of all of these things. Yeah, that's true. Like, they weren't selling that well. Are they not on sale? Are they not? Do they just disappear? Are they going to like what they did with the ET floppy disks, where they just buried them in one big hole?
In 10 years from now, they're worth like so much money. Everyone who's bought those, keep your hands gripped around that game. If you haven't even opened it, don't open it.
Invest.
Keep it.
Buy like 6 of them and just bury them in your backyard, and then just.
Hashtag Bravo Team Bitcoin.
It's funny because I read about this because it's made by Supermassive Games, right? The team that did
very well-respected developer.
Until Dawn was a great game. I really loved it. I played it with my wife. It was one of the very few games we've ever played together, and we both had a lot of fun with it. Until Dawn: Rush of Blood on the PSVR is supposed to be very good as well.
Very good. You got to play that, Mike.
I will. It's on my list. But it's just unfortunate, I think, from what I read, there was like a kind of inside scoop from one of the devs that worked on the team. He was kind of a bit anonymous, giving an interview with an outlet. And he was just basically saying that the whole thing was rushed, and the pressure was on to get the game out. They only had like 18 months development, whereas with Until Dawn they had like 3 to 4 years. So the bar quality was really significantly lowered, and it was hampered by the sort of push to make it a realistic shooter rather than a fun one. And I think that was overall what was the problem with Bravo Team, was a lot of people just didn't find it had anything unique about it. It's very generic.
I hope it doesn't put them off from making VR content though, because they are developers that are nice to have in the scene, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because like you need to know that they were working on Bravo Team and they were also working on The Impatient, and The Impatient had pretty good ratings. So I think that like that maybe Sony told them like, hey, you know, make a game for us, or maybe they were like, maybe we should just do this as a side project, and then in the end but I think it could have been something fun. Like we still haven't seen a Rainbow Six type of course we played like, what was it, Break Siege or something, I don't know. It was like an off-road Rainbow Six kind of simulator in VR.
Breach It.
Breach It. But this could have been. I was like, oh, this can be exciting. But in the end, I don't know.
Yeah. Just a question though.
We got.
I haven't played
someone
it.
Commenting.
Who has played it here?
Go on, Radu. What's the comment? Let's go for the comment.
Yeah, we had someone saying that Valkyrie on PlayStation VR at launch was a stuttery mess though. I don't know if any of us played that one.
Right.
But there are some people saying that there were like some problems with games on PSVR, and it's more due to the competence of the developer, of course, than it is the power of the console, which I think we all meant as well. It's not because the PlayStation itself is such a great device. It's more because of the strict guidelines that PlayStation is setting and the developers that are developing for that platform.
Yeah, exactly. What were you going to say, Zim?
I was too focused on comments out of my head now.
Like who played it? Like we.
Basically, I was just asking because oftentimes we find ourselves going off the back of comments, which is, to be honest, a true reflection of the market. Because lots of people will not buy a game because of what their friends said, but we're kind of the pseudo friends for a lot of people, I'd like to think.
Okay.
And
so now we need to play it. We need to test it now.
I haven't actually played it because I saw it, but it kind of launched at a funny time.
I do know that the PSVR Frank he played it and he kind of liked it though. You said it wasn't. It was a little bit overcold, like all of the negative feedback that we was receiving.
Hey, come on!
The Frank Show, what? The Frank Show, come on!
I love his intro.
But I like that. That's the thing, you know. Like everyone has different opinions, and maybe like Frank, I'm not sure. I don't really see him playing that much shooters, so it could be that he's like wowed out by something that is still pretty bad. But maybe we should play it and see.
I think the thing with Bravo Team as well was that it wasn't necessarily the devs that wanted this to happen. You know, it was the investors. Because this game was obviously an invested game, and then the investors were pressuring them to get it out. And I think that's what I got from the interview with the dev. It's a shame. It's a shame because, you know, if they had given them more time, maybe another year, maybe another 2 years, it could have been like the best shooter in VR, period. But unfortunately, a lot of investors, they just want to see a return on investment, and they don't understand the games industry that well.
They want to see a new Jumanji.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't care. Yeah. So let's move on to our second topic of today, and that is the Vive Pro. So the Vive Pro is out in the wild now, and you can pick one up yourself for $799 for the headset alone. $799. That's right, you heard it first. So if you own a Vive already and you want to upgrade to the Vive Pro, that's what you're going to have to pay, because the Vive Pro doesn't come with controllers or any lighthouses. But these guys have got one. So you were sent one, Nathy, you were sent one, Rowdy, by HTC, because obviously you're covering their content all the time. So rightly so, they should send you a headset. How did you feel? Like, start off from the beginning. Like, was it easy to set up? Like when you first got it?
I broke mine. No, I don't like headphones like this, so I always take them off.
For our audio listeners, what Rowdy just showed us was a Vive Pro with one earpiece snapped off of it.
You can remove them, right, Rowdy?
Yeah, you can remove that. I didn't like just drag them off like that.
Don't need this.
Well, I mean, these were easier to get off than on the deluxe audio strap when like half of the people broke it.
It was the same. Yeah, it was the same. Like, since you still need to you need to use like a little screwdriver, like a little cross one, and like loosen the screw there, then take it out, and then it like flips off. But with the Deluxe audio strap, you still have to twist it as well, I think. Yeah. You don't need to do that with this one. These just come off rather smoothly.
So interestingly, like when you got it out the box, you've unboxed it, you're like looking at it, it looks like a lovely piece of tech. And did you just plug it in and it worked, or was there any setup procedure that you needed to go through?
No.
Super easy?
The only thing that I found a bit strange, I don't know if I still have it here. Wait, let Natey say something and I'll look for it.
Okay, I will say something. So, like, first of all, for $800, like, if I look at the box, it's kind of disappointing. Like, if you bought a Vive, you know that you got like a big box with foam in there, you got, like all the shapes, and very. So it's pretty good, you know. Still not as good as the DK1 case, you know. It never beats any. But the thing is, it's just a cardboard box, and then there's like a plastic base in there, and like the headset is sitting on there. I was like, come on, guys, like why? And I'm not saying that I expect more for $800 because it's not really a consumer like cardboard package thing. It's more like, hey, you're a developer, okay, throw these headsets out of the box, let's go, you know. And it's already these bugs, wow. Like usually I'm like, whoa, nice colors, you know. But then I took it out. I checked out because I did an unboxing video, and then I plugged it in, and it just worked straight away. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it just takes over like all the settings, and it just. I mean, in the end, it's just a display, you know, and the settings, SteamVR just syncs it up nicely, and it worked.
I had like two little issues when I found mine. First off, they sent me the wrong plug. A US plug. But actually, the plug is just the same as the one that I have for my previous Vive. So the only thing I did was I changed my link box. And I just plugged in the old plug that I had. I plugged it in there. What I do like, wait, I'll show you the link box maybe.
Yeah, show the link box.
It has like a nice on and off button now. I don't know if you guys or like if Zim ever noticed that, but I leave my Vive on often. I just forget plugging it out, and it stays warm with me. But with this one, I can now actually turn the Vive off completely. That's nice. Also, it has only one port. While the other one had I think three here. Yeah,
it had an audio, an HDMI, and USB.
So I still have I have like a single cable now, like just a single cable. While I used to have like the three glued it together, and then on the back they removed the HDMI port, so it's only a display port now, and then of course the power and the USB plug.
It's like type C2 display port, right?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what type it is.
And the reason why they use display part now, because I've seen some people asking me about it, is because like the Vive Pro uses a higher resolution and there's more data, and display part can just transfer that better to your PC and the way around.
I use display port with my Vive actually as well, so that was actually not a problem for me.
I mean, most GPUs have like a display part nowadays, right? I mean.
Yeah.
The second problem I had was that I thought I broke my controllers, but you just need to pair them again.
Pairing. God.
I completely forgot how to do that, how to pair a controller. Because mine kept on blinking blue, and I was like, this is not working. I was about to send an email to like, your product's not working, but then I realized I just had to like pair the controller.
So it was a PEBCAC error then.
Yeah.
Do you guys know that acronym? That's a beautiful acronym. If you're in tech support, PEBCAC is problem exists between keyboard and chair.
Right. That's you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So in terms of performance, how did you find it sort of performs? Have you noticed any sort of like lag or anything like that, or does games work flawlessly straight out of the box?
I mean, from my perspective, I had the feeling it was a little smoother, just a little bit. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
What cards are you guys running?
I'm using a TI, a 1080, and I did buy my 1080 Ti a couple of weeks ago, so it could be that it's still like I need to get used to it. But you know, like it's like from the inside, it's mainly the resolution that is, you know, a lot better. You know, you can see more details in a game. Let's say if you see a wall, it's not that you can really see just more of the world around you. You know, you can enjoy more of it, and like you can see more in the distance. You know, also interesting, but this is something off-road, is I heard this from VR Gaming Evolved. He said that you can actually change the brightness and the contrast of the Vive.
Right.
with some kind of like in the settings of Windows, and then you can even make everything look even brighter, like you have at the PlayStation VR, you know, a little more alive. But yeah,
so
for me it was just mainly the resolution. But it's like
I am running a GTX 980 Ti, so my graphics card is a little bit older. I haven't noticed any problems in terms of lag, or I also didn't notice it running it smoother. But I haven't tried any like very graphically intense games yet.
Right.
Like I can imagine. I do have. Is it called Async, or is that for Oculus?
Asynchronous time warp.
I think
That's
it,
an Oculus.
That's Oculus. That's Oculus.
Yeah.
I mean the Steam variant for that. I have that running though, so it could be that that helps it out a little bit with in case I would get some frame drops. But yeah, like Nate said, the resolution is something that I noticed pretty much immediately. Like I mean, I also play a lot with the Vive. Text is a lot clearer, like Mike mentioned already before. It's you immediately see it, you can read a lot better. Also in the distance, I think I see less of a screen door effect, which makes sense because there's about a 78% increase in resolution. I don't know if you notice it that much when you're already immersed in the game and you're like moving around so much. I don't know if you'll still notice it. I noticed it the most actually when I put my controllers up and I looked at my controllers and they were like really, really sharp.
Right.
That was something
Got a question for you, Rowdy. So the I believe you also have for your Vive the deluxe audio strap. How does it compare to the new set? It looks it's quite visually similar, but the new headband, the way it's structured on the head is quite different. We've heard Mike talk about it a couple of weeks ago, but I'm curious for you being into the audio side of things.
On the I'm like throwing everything around here.
There's pieces everywhere.
Can you guys see this properly?
Yeah, we can see this. Yeah. So
if you look at especially on this side, you can see that this one has a lot more padding on the back of it. Yeah. See that there? Than this one. This one is a little bit thinner than the rest. There's also much more weight on the back now of it. It feels like it's much more balanced when you put it over your head. It's not like I also put the VR cover on there. This is not the thing that comes with it.
Nice.
I also don't really know if they're compatible 100%, but I just glued it on there. And
that's the VR cover from your original Vive.
Yeah.
Did you actually glue it on there?
No.
Oh, right. Jesus,
I just get the super glue out.
First, I rip off my headphones, then I put glue over on my head.
It's like, what's he doing?
His name's Rowdy after all, you know.
Yeah.
True.
And there's like a lot more cable management that is going on, and then also the strap.
So
the button on the strap.
Do you find those back pads to be good, or are they annoying?
These ones are good.
I liked it as well. I thought it felt really nice.
Ones, they're very comfortable. Yeah.
They you know what it is? Like what I like the most is like the side here. Like the side here is like kind of flexible. And because you're moving so much in VR, it kind of like moves with your head. So it kind of pushes out or inwards. So because you move a lot, so the headset goes all over the place. But because like the plastic is a little more like bendable, it's like easier to wear it for longer play sessions.
I found it like it cups my little egg. Really
Rowdy just did like a stress test on this thing, man. Like
he's just ripping it apart live on the show.
Rowdy, what the heck is that even?
What are you doing?
You need to rip that off to like remove like the headphones. So like on this side, there's like little pads on here. There's another thing that a lot of people apparently didn't know. Like to get access to the USB port, which you have as well, or if you jank out the cable, first you need to rip off this cover, and then you need to kind of like break this part a bit. Like it feels really weird to do this. Like you really break it. Like I thought I broke it when it's like, oops, there, and then this thing comes off. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like a live dismantling of a fucking pro.
Yeah. My days.
And then behind there. I don't know if you guys can see this properly, but in there's a USB Type-C port and this cable as well, which, by the way, if you pull this out and you don't get this off, you almost don't get it back in.
Yeah, well, that's what I did. I pulled it out without, like, I didn't know I could pull that whole, like, piece out, and then I tried to get it back in, but I did see, like, another, like, USB in there, but it was, like, so hidden, and I knew I could, like like pull the face. But the thing is, I checked the manual, and as far as I know, they don't tell you anything about that, so people don't know.
Also, taking off the headphones, it's not described in there. I couldn't find it.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I knew that the headphones could get because they were removable because it was on their website, but it was also because there was like a little bag in there with little circly thingies, and you could like fill those gaps up, because if you pull them out, you can just fill them up, so it doesn't look that bad.
Oh yeah, I was about to say that, Nathan, is that like the expose the bear signs don't look so nice. I was wondering if they had caps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. But
they do have caps. I didn't find them.
Yeah, they do have caps.
You threw them away when you ripped the box open with your teeth, Rowdy, you crazy maniac.
Remember, this is for developers who know what they're talking about, not consumers, right? So, I'm curious though, Rowdy, Nathan, what are your thoughts? Like for the current price, somebody like me, Rowdy's shaking his head, don't do it.
I mean, we already discussed this previously on the podcast. If you want the best of the best, I do agree that like if this is at the moment, it is the best there is. Okay. I've never tried a headset that you can. I mean, I haven't tried all of the headsets, but from the popular ones, the ones that are currently on the market, I think this is the best thing that I've tried. Yeah, it's comfortable. The resolution is great. It works perfectly with the tracking. It looks nice. I mean, it's an all-round device, and the price, I mean, I wouldn't pay this much for a headset unless it's something really, really novel and really new.
Yeah.
Like
prosumers.
That's true. And like what I also think is it depends on what you want to do with it. As Rowdy said, if you use it a lot, you might consider buying one. If you just play a game twice a week, then I don't see a reason for you to buy this. Yeah. If you are playing racing sims, if you're flying, if you're doing shooting simulators, you might want to consider buying it if you use it on a daily basis.
I talked to Lonely Viper, for example. He was really keen on getting one as well because he plays a lot of competitive Onward and competitive games in general. And pretty much all of those people that are doing that are already buying pros just to have that bleeding edge technology and that little edge that you need.
Yeah, of course.
Because if you see 5 pixels more per centimeter,
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal on Onward.
Not that Viper needs it. He could wear a friggin' blindfold and it'd still be amazing.
True.
But I think it's great if you play a certain genre and you spend a lot of time in game, like let's say Elite Dangerous or Assetto Corsa or like all those simulator kind of games. Then great, but still, like the Vive Pro means professional. It's for the industry. It's for prosumers. But I told most people if you just use it in a casual way, you don't need this. It's not going to bring your experience to the next level. I've seen people saying on Reddit, I'm gonna wait with this game I'm not gonna play it yet because the Vive Pro is gonna come out. I'm gonna buy the Vive Pro and then I'm going to play it. Like it's almost a new wow moment. But I got a list here of like positives and some negatives. I'm still working on the negatives, but the negatives are pretty straightforward. But so the positives for me were a higher resolution, visuals look way better, improved head strap ergonomics, screen door effect is a lot better, nose gasket leaks less light, being able to move in the front and moving the screen like this way and like in and out. There's like a button here. It's easier now. You can do that with the Vive Classic as well, but you see this?
I thought that was for mainly to accommodate glasses, right? People that wear glasses.
Oh, okay.
But you can move that a little bit around. Being able to remove the headphones, and then the negatives are, the IPD. Rowdy can talk a little bit more about that. Is pretty like restricted. The Pro has a USB-C part, but I think it's like pretty hard to reach at this moment, like based on their manual, because people don't know. There's no headphone jack, so you need to use a wireless headset as far as I know.
Oh, right. Okay, so if you remove the earphones, you have to find a wireless solution.
Or you maybe have a USB like headset, but I don't think people have that.
Yeah, you can buy like USB adapter, or like I saw people that wanted to hook up a USB sound card. I mean, it's not an ideal solution, but
It's like solving it's something that HTC, but the thing is HTC wants to focus more on wireless. We all know that the Y-Gig, the thing from Intel is going to come out soon, and they just want to eliminate as much cables. Like, let's say for arcades, if you got an arcade or a development studio, there's almost no cable anymore. No like little audio cable on the deluxe strap that went from one side to another. It's not there. It's just a 3-in-1 cable that goes from the back to the side and goes inside the headset. Nothing more, nothing less. And then last but not least, they still use the same cheap foam, and I think I read somewhere on their website where it was like kind of like some kind of luxurious kind of like material. It's still cheap foam. Yeah. So VR cover is working on Vive Pro covers, by the way. That's a little scoop, but they will save the day once again. Like there's like why is it so hard? It's an $800 thing. Like all the VR arcades are gonna buy their own like other like this just doesn't. It doesn't last. It doesn't
cut it, right? I mean, if I was in the having purchased the device when I saw that in your unboxing, I would have been pissed off, to be honest.
And then also a thing, and I haven't tested this. Like I don't think it's sweat proof, and I also don't think it's in their warranty anymore. Like we all know that they were playing around with the warranty. I mean, we heard from some of our colleagues that like they changed it in the warranty where if you sweat too much and you destroy your Vive, you're gonna have a problem, okay?
Yeah.
Also, also don't forget about the shipping.
Roddy's got a good point here. You just answered.
Also, I am glad that you touched upon the IPD because I think that is often overlooked, and because I did like some research on this as well. Like I found like a survey that they did in 2012 in the U.S. Army, and they found that the 5th percentile of males have an IPD of 58. And the 95th percentile has an IPD of 70. So that means that 5% of the population roughly has an IPD of 70, and the other 5% has an IPD roughly of 58. Yep. But they put their boundaries at 60 and 74. So they go, for the much larger ones, they go much, and we're not even talking about females, because then the IPD on the 5th percentile is even lower. 55. Yeah. So that's an even larger portion of people that just won't be able to use the correct settings with their IPD. And I mean, I'm in that as well. I can't have my correct IPD.
Just a quick recap here for the benefit of people who don't know what IPD is. So it's your interpupillary distance, which is important in getting the focus in the headset right. And it's actually an adjustment that you can make on the headset to make things sharpen up.
Now, I mean, the Vive does have a pretty large sweet spot because they're using those Fresnel lenses, of course. So that is a good thing. But at the same time, I'm thinking like you could have an even bigger IPD, a bigger sweet spot if your IPD would be correct. Because I still notice if I look to the left or to the right, that you get like a little bit of like a blur there, which is a shame but there must be something hardware related. I think that they can't do that. Maybe it's that the lenses, they can't push them anymore together. That is something like that. Because otherwise it makes no sense at all that they're using an IPD of a minimum of 60.
Yeah, because the Rift goes down to 58, right? And like you, Rowdy, I have mine jammed as far low as it can go.
Oh, really? This is an IPD comparison. I'm like smack at 64, where they tell you I'm like 63, 64. Yeah, I'm just spam average. What about you, Nathan? What are you?
I don't know.
Tell me your IPD, Nate.
85, like.
I think it's like I think it's around like 65.
I feel like it's like the worst chat-up line in a bar ever. Hey, what's your IPD?
What's your IPD, baby? Well, it's the best one, Mike. If they know, she's the one.
But
that is true.
But hey, on the positive side, now if you're a dinosaur or a hammerhead shark, you can also play.
That is very true.
Also, before I forget this point, the God rays are in a higher resolution too now, so enjoy that. So the God rays are still there. Now, I never really bothered the God rays that much, but there are people that just hate it. So just so you know,
it's still there. It's still there.
Yeah.
I think it was the biggest shocker for me. The God rays was the biggest shocker for me moving from DK2. And the nice thing is it's not there in PSVR.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
So get a PlayStation VR instead of a Vive Pro.
You can buy buy 4 PSVRs for Vive Pro. Buddy, you talked about like sim racers and like people that do like e-Valkyrie, that kind of thing. Out of all the feedback that I got from my like Vive Pro video, it was always people that are into racing sims and that are like pilots for e-Valkyrie. That they just play that game like nonstop because that is their bag. They're like, they want to buy this thing, and I get it because they just want the best experience for that one game. Fine, because they play it like 40 hours a week or something ridiculous, and I get it. So for them, it's probably a worthwhile investment, but for the average gamer, casual gamer, no, not so much.
So honestly, what I would do now is, because it's not out yet and they send a few YouTubers a Vive Focus and some websites, or a Focus Pro, I keep on like, there's so many Vives now. Vive Vanilla, Vive Pro, Vive Focus, beep boop, does not compute. But no, but I would just wait and see what the general reactions are. People still say it's overpriced, but you know, it's a certain target they go for, and I'm sure that the Pro will be for consumers later on, or they just come up with another headset that totally meets the expectations of everyone else. Like HTC is throwing this out. They just want to see what it does. If people buy it, who buys it? Because of course they want to have some prosumers buying it. It's not that they say it's only for, if they want to do that, then.
And it's a great device. I mean, I really mean it when I said I think that this is at the moment the best VR headset.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and that was pretty much my summary of my thoughts on it. I thought it was like the best you can buy right now, but I just thought the barrier to entry was way too high. So
I'm glad I canceled, guys. Thank you for the feedback.
Like Nathan said, I think one day when they have a bundle where it comes with the Lighthouse 2.0 and better controllers and everything else,
that's why
it's
canceled.
It's gonna be so overpriced. That's the thing. Like this headset, this is only the headset and a link box.
Oh yeah, the combo's gonna be. Oh yeah, let's get those. What's that price gonna be, lads?
But I think like a lot of companies buy this now, and because they see it as a good investment, and I think they will come up with another Vive that is for the. It's almost like you got a Tesla Model X you can buy, and then they also sell a Model 3. You know what I mean? Like you have a smaller, and then we'll see.
But it does throw the ball back at Oculus, like saying, you know, come up with something new. But maybe Oculus will say, like, you know, you guys can have your fancy headset, and we'll go with the Oculus. Yeah.
We'll go with the mass market, you know, the people that can afford a $200 headset that's all in.
Out of curiosity, Mike, you said a lot of e-Valkyrie. Did you by any chance mean Elite Dangerous?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I don't know my space sims. I am a noob when it comes to space simulators. So yeah. Elite Dangerous. That's what I meant.
Because I was like, you do realize that game's like dying right now. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
Let's just move on the fact that I'm a noob when it comes to space.
Cut that out.
Cut that out. Right. Final topic. Ready Player One. So all of us this week have gone to see the movie. Some of us have seen it multiple times. We're going to talk briefly about some things you should know about the movie that are completely spoiler-free. So don't worry. The first sort of 5 to 10 minutes will be spoiler-free, and then we'll give you some clear warnings to say, right, we're going to get into spoilers now. So stick with us for a little while longer.
I'm going to give them a quick example of what that will look like on screen. So once we do spoilers, you will actually see a warning on screen. All right.
So like this. Okay. So I just wanted to cover some really basic information first, because like say for people with families that maybe want to go and see this movie with their kids and everything else, the film is rated as a 12A. So that basically means that if you're 12 or older, you need to be supervised by an adult. The movie itself does have 2 big swear words in. Just, you know, if you're like, you really don't want your kids exposed to swear words. Some people are like sensitive to this kind of stuff. So I thought it was important information to have out there. And also that the movie has some horror elements with blood in it as well. So it depends on, you know, if you're cool with that with your kids, then that's fine. It's not necessarily too scary, but it's just one to be aware of, that there is these horror elements, there is these swear words, and it does have blood in it.
I think it can be pretty scary. I agree.
My sister, because she went with me. She, at a certain moment, it was like really quiet in the hall, and something happened, and she like shrieked.
Wow. That's like, yeah. So, like, Zim, you went and saw it with your kids, right? So, did they have any adverse reactions to these parts of the movie, or was it they were just cool with it?
No, I mean, like, my kids, we always believe, and this is kind of something I don't broadcast it much, because you raise your kids as you want to raise them kind of thing, but we're raising adults, you know, so, like, we're not raising kids, so we don't care about swearing around them, because I believe that, you know, as any human being, if you, you know, come to have a normalized version of a number of swears in your vocabulary, that's totally cool. And I'm cool with that with a 1-year-old as I am with a 40-year-old. So same thing with this. I mean, we've had them watching scary movies since they were both 1. So it's not like it was like, oh my God, there's a thing on the screen. So it was perfectly fine for both of them. There wasn't a single scene where my daughter's the one who usually kind of goes like, grabs me a little bit tighter but no, there was none of that.
Okay, cool. So there you go. Like, there is some elements to it, but just be aware of it. That's what going into it. It's also 2.5 hours long. So if you have kids that just won't sit around for 2.5 hours, then just be aware it's a fairly long movie.
Mine both fell asleep.
All right, well, ideal, perfect. So you can also see the movie in 3D and 2D, and it's actually one of those rare movies that I would actually recommend you see it in 3D. The 3D really adds an element of depth to it, in my opinion, and some of the scenes look incredible.
If you can see it on an IMAX, go and see it on an IMAX.
Yeah, great recommendation. Yeah.
I do want to say though, like I love 3D as well, but let's say if you have been to 3D movies before and you like that slow pace, let's say Hobbit style, where you just look at the landscapes, everything is like really nice and like in depth. Like Ready Player One is a super fast movie, so if you are if you watch that in 3D, well, it's pretty. Let's say it can be intense for some people.
Yeah, the 3D was well done though, because I recently watched Black Panther in 3D, and I thought the 3D was awful. It took me like 20 minutes of trying to adjust my eyes just to try to figure it out. I don't know what kind of 3D that they showed me there, but it didn't feel like 3D at all. It just felt like something really weird.
I find the key for that, Rowdy, is if it's animated, right? If it's started on a computer, then they animate it into 3D. Like I find Avatar, How to Train Your Dragon, all that kind of stuff works really well.
I've seen other things as well that were like less animated, like Transformers as well. I watched that one in 3D, and I thought it was really nice. Which one?
Yeah, Dredd is a great 3D movie. The Judge Dredd movie.
Oh,
Judge Dredd.
Are those not both like super CGI though? Because I would have thought that
Dredd.
Like when you said Transformers, you meant the human sequences where there's people. And you're saying those were still okay.
The entire movie. Right. With Black Panther, there's also a lot of CGI, but the entire movie, I was like, oh man, there's something weird about this 3D that I'm not used to. Well, with this movie, indeed, with Ready Player One, I thought the 3D was amazing. The moment that I put those glasses on, I immediately felt it was different.
Yeah, but it's also like, I think, let's say if you are a VR enthusiast, then you want to see it in 3D because it also gives you that extra vibe of what you experience usually in VR as well, Like looking at it on a flat screen can be a little boring then.
Yeah.
Like overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I think it's a great movie. It's just that, but it's of course Ready Player One. It's so packed. Like these 2 hours are still too short. It's like it's like full of like this is one of the fastest movies I've ever watched in my life, where everything goes flashing by and it's like, oh, but wait, what did I just? Oh, okay, So. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's like a summarized version of Ready Player One, I would say.
It is, and the thing is, like when I walked away, and this is all spoiler free, by the way. I thought it could have been 3 movies, a bit like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, right? I think they could have broken each movie down to the 3 keys.
Oh my!
And that would have made sense. They could have really fleshed it out a bit more. But same as you, I thought it was really enjoyable. Like I'm a really big fan of the book. Like I've listened to the book and read the book numerous times. And I actually found, funnily enough, watching it a second time was way better than my first viewing of the movie. So, that's an interesting take on it.
I do have to say that I found the character development a little bit lacking.
Yeah,
Before we go into the details, I'm curious what you guys would say about the film, either giving it a rating or, how would you describe it to a friend?
So I would say it's just a highly enjoyable movie for the whole family to enjoy. It's got that Spielberg magic to it. He's got this flair about telling a story and condensing a really complicated story into something that really makes sense. And it's got some of the most amazingly visual segments to the movie that you've just never seen anything like it before in your life.
I fully agree with that.
But also,
I agree with the best movie I've ever seen. It's great,
but like Rowdy said, there are some real bits where you feel the character interaction is severely lacking, and we'll dive into a bit more of that, I think, in a bit. But I would say that if you haven't read the book, I would definitely go and check it out, the book. If you don't have time to read books, because I don't really have time to read books, check out the audiobook, because it's narrated by Will Wheaton. He does a cracking job of narrating the book, and he makes it really exciting and interesting to listen to. So check that out. So I think it's on Audible and
it's
iTunes.
About 6 hours or so it's easy enough to crack through.
It is, and it's great. So if you like the movie and you want more, check out the book, because you'll love it.
You want the full story.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this is a spoiler. I'm trying to like think of what I can.
What did you say before we did?
I usually don't do like movie reviews, but like you know, you have small things that miss in the movie that you like have in the book. Like for example, you know, you have the DeLorean. You have seen it in the trailer as well. There's a Ghostbusters logo on the side. I haven't seen it in the movie. Maybe I missed it out here, but I don't think it's on there. So they're like small things, but also certain characters, because you need to know that you need to buy all these characters to put them in the movie. So they have been kind of, because you can write about everything you want, right? In a book, you don't need to pay for that. Yeah. But if you make a movie, of course, and you want to have, let's say, this guy in there or that famous character, then you do need to pay for it.
Weird,
exactly. And I don't know about you guys, but I thought the scenes in the Oasis were actually more compelling than anything that happened outside of the Oasis. I don't know if you guys felt that as well.
Like a big difference in like the CGI is so good. Like the face, like, because the faces kind of look like the same persons that are like outside of it. Like it just matches, and it doesn't feel like a bad 3D movie. You know, we're so far into like CGI now, where it's like it's really nice.
So just a quick question before we move into the spoilers, and this is a question to you all. Do you think this movie will help the VR industry move forward in any way?
That's one of the things I actually agreed with my wife as we were leaving it. So I give my impression of it as well, just on the front. So if I was to give it a number on like a 10-point scale, I'd probably say 7 out of 10. If it was a 20-point scale, I'd say 7.5 out of 10. I think it was a really good roller coaster, as Nathan said. It's fast. And it's quite well detailed. The book side of me was a little bit like, okay, lamenting certain pieces and certain characters who,
of course,
I think there was a Morpheus effect in there. I'll describe a little bit later in more detail. But I think overall, if you're a gamer, whether in the cinema or outside the cinema, you should see this film. I agree with you guys. The 3D effect was really solid. For as many as visual elements were on screen, I didn't find anything wrong with the 3D effect. I thought it was. I saw it in Real D 3D with my whole family, and they actually do have kid-size Real D 3D glasses that fit them great, which was great.
That'd be great for my small eyes, right? My IPG.
Me too.
Like, I need those.
They're funny. I'll pull them out in a second. But I do think that overall, I've never seen so much IP and crossover in a single film. It's a really like, I can't say that I judge this in the same way that I judge like The Matrix. It's the first film I've seen composite so many threads together, and I gotta take my hat off to Spielberg. He did a great job of turning, as you said, Mike, what is a relatively complicated book and accordioning that down into this package. I was impressed by the efficacy with which he brought that film to life.
I agree with that.
I agree.
So overall, I think we all agree that we recommend the movie to go and check it out.
It's a thumbs up.
Thumbs up from us all.
You know, like from VR industry perspective, we'll have to see what the impact is going to be. I think it will have its positive effects, and I'm very proud to say, like, hey, we finally got a VR movie. Like, it does feel like I'm a part of it, and it feels like it's a part of my life as well in a way. Like this movie, it's like a pretty big step, I would say. And all the stuff in there as well. You know, we have seen all kinds of VR gadgets getting used in there. From let's say haptic suits to things you can walk on. Like that's all gonna happen. So I'm like, I got even more excited for what I'm actually like waiting for at the moment. You know. So I think I hope that people will not only look at the movie in a way where it's like, oh, they put some goggles on and there's like a world living in there, and they don't really realize that, because that's what I noticed that a lot of people after, because I went to the premiere in the Netherlands, the first like screening there, and then after the movie, people said to me like, yeah, I liked it. I would love, like, if this could be real and I could be in the Oasis. I said like, join me, take my hand. let's go deeper inside the rabbit hole. I told one guy who was like a big fan of the book, and I told him about like VR chat and those kind. He said like, oh my, like you need to come by at my office and you need to show me, because this sounds like. So people don't really know what VR is, so they watch the movie, but they still don't.
Yeah.
Like they still don't get VR. Like it's an actual thing, you can buy it in a store, you know?
Yeah, I totally
what
agree.
I think that the movie does a great job at, and like regardless of like whether it will have a huge influence on VR, is I think it like highlights the potential of it, and I think that is an important thing that this movie does. That it shows people what is virtual reality. You know, how does it work? Is this something that is popular? What are the things that we can do with this? You know, the same with like the influence that, for example, the holodeck in Star Trek has. You know, when so many people are trying to copy that and trying to like build that and something like that. I think that this movie also like it raises again the awareness of virtual reality, instead of like that it will really have a significant impact on the amount of sales, but more people will now know what virtual reality is. I think that is a good thing.
I agree. And I think the movie, because it goes into VR, you really get sucked into like VR as well. You know, it's really like you're sitting there, you're like, okay, let's go into the metaverse. You know,
I had a very interesting experience because we went to a restaurant just before going to the film, and the lady at the restaurant, she's like, oh yeah, my boyfriend really wants to see that film. She's like, I'll have to make some excuse so I don't have to see it. You know, it was that kind of a feeling. And then going to the cinema. Actually, I'd say it was a ton of nerds. Like, and it wasn't even lots. It was funny. I went to a cinema. It wasn't even packed. It wasn't even full. I'd say about a third of the cinema was taken up. But this was on release night. So I got the feeling that, you know, the geeks and nerds out there are definitely tuned into it. I don't know how good a job it does of selling this, but I think if someone does happen to see it with a family member or a friend, again, it normalizes the concept of virtual reality a little bit. So it takes us that step closer to that's going to be an acceptable part of our world. I mean, it's Spielberg, after all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like my wife, she's not really into like VR. She's not really into technology. She's like a massive fan of Harry Potter, but she came to see the movie with me because she knows how like important it is to me. But she actually said like she loved it. Like she really, really enjoyed it as a movie. And that's a testament to the movie in itself.
Yeah, and I think like this movie serves like two audiences. I was like watching it with my brother, and there were things in there that he had no clue of, because there's so many references. You need to be, let's say you don't need to be a geek, because Steven Spielberg is pretty genius in almost every movie he made. Like if you know a lot about a lot of shit, like in terms of like video games and movies and all kinds of things, then you're gonna be like, you're like, but then like someone who doesn't know, like let's just go into the spoilers, because I can't.
Okay. One second.
Now.
So
I
the
just
next.
want to say something here that I can't say.
All right, hang on. So we're transitioning into the spoilers now. You will see a giant spoiler warning on each of the scenes we're in, and this is going to continue until the end of this episode.
Yeah. So if you don't want the movie or the book to be spoiled for you, then leave now. Come back when you've read it or seen the movie.
There's nobody watching anymore. No.
Oh, right. We'll just hang up. So come back once you've seen it, because you really should go and see it or read the book before we get into this. But if you've read the book or you've seen the movie, then stick around, because we're going to get really deep into the rabbit hole and talk about all the spoilers and how it compares to the book now. So we'll give you a few more seconds to leave. We thank you for being part of the show. We'll be back on our normal schedule next week. We love you very much, but we just don't want to ruin this movie for you. So
exactly.
So right, I think they're all gone now.
Can I kick it off then? So
Spoil
I was just
away,
talking about the fact that this movie is for like two audiences. So there are characters in this movie that are sometimes in a scene where they say like, I don't know where I am. They have like a scene from The Shining. They are like in the actual Shining movie, and one of the characters doesn't know where he is, and they explain him what it is and where he is. That's for the people that do not know The Shining, never watched it. Well, I'm like, oh, I know this place, and it takes a while before the other audience. So it switches between two audiences, where the other audience will know 2 minutes in the Shining room where they are.
Off it. You're right. That was beautiful.
It's so nice, and it's happening more where. You know, where someone says like, hey, I want to have that bike, and then someone's like, what bike are they talking about? And then they're like explaining it, and like everything is very nicely like
I was kind of hoping that there would be more of these kind of things in the movie, like really, like, because you have The Shining that was really fleshed out, but it would have been nice to have seen like other kind of things also. But then, indeed, like you said, you would need to have 3 movies instead of just
And I think it's a smarter play to have the one, to be honest. Because think about it, if they'd broken that into 3 parts, would it have been a box office success?
Yeah, it's a risk. It's a risky thing. But like Mike posted a few of like the movie posters on his Twitter. There were so many like. We could have gone into Indiana Jones. We could have gone into like, Marty with like Back to the Future. Like I like The Shining, but if we could have picked one, I wouldn't have gone for like The Shining.
I don't know.
Like
I loved it.
Like,
I thought that they did that so well. I thought that the minutia, the detail that they went to in that segment was just gorgeous. The way the blood came out of the elevator, my God. Think about that as a VR headset. Jesus.
But like I was just waiting for that. I'm not sure if you guys ever seen like Monsters Incorporated, where they go through doors and they go into different worlds. Like with this movie as well, I was expecting them to run from The Shining, open a door, and then they were in another world and they were just running around like real fast, you know?
Right.
And you could have some like. But I don't know, like as I said before,
I kind of like I said, I liked it that they fleshed this out because you had that character that didn't know the movie and who clearly also had no idea, clearly also didn't like horror games or horror movies. That makes like that entire so much more funny because I really like that part. I think it's a really good choice. Also later, because all of those 6s, they also need to go into The Shining to go and try to find like the clue that
freaking out.
So good.
And they're all like freaking out and like screaming and like that was such a good part.
They played on the comedy of this one really well. And I find that like for people like my wife has never seen The Shining. So it was really fun to be watching the film with someone who had no idea what was about to come.
So I'm wondering, like, for you guys, like, what was your favorite scene? Let's just like kick it up with like Mike.
Okay, so I just to quickly give us some basis. Like, I've read the book. I think Zim's read the book, right?
I have listened to the audio.
Right.
Yeah.
So Nathan, have you read the book or the audio book?
I haven't read the book.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so my favorite scene out of the whole movie was the race at the beginning. It's a real gear change from the book. The way he obtains the copper key is very, very different, and it's also a very iconic scene from the book as well. So I was a bit disappointed that the scene from the book, because in the book, if you don't know, there's a limerick that he has to solve, and basically he's stuck on a planet that's covered in schools, and that's basically the reason why people go into the Oasis. It's the main use case, and everyone goes to school in the Oasis. And he's a real low-level avatar, and he can't leave the planet because it costs so much money. So he's really into like the egg quest, and he's a gunter, and he's really into Halliday trivia, but he can't leave the planet. So he thinks he's screwed, like he has no chance of being in the contest. But he basically solves the limerick, which is the copper key awaits explorers in a tomb filled with horrors, but you have much to learn if you hope to earn a place among the high scorers. He basically figures out that you have much to learn is a reference to the planet that he's on, which is Ludus, the school planet, and that the Tomb of Horrors is on the planet. So he finds the Tomb of Horrors, he goes in there, and then he has to fight the Lich King at a game of Joust, which is the iconic classic video game, right? Where you ride the ostriches and you have to joust each other. So because he's played the game so much with his buddy H in H's basement, he always used to play on the left-hand side when he played with H. So when he plays the Lich King, he gets beaten in the first round, but he's like, hey, I want to play on the left-hand side. So the Lich King swap places, and he managed to beat the Lich King in 2 consecutive games afterwards and wins the copper key. Obviously, in the movie, it's this like huge race scene, right? You put this like race through New York.
I wondered where that came from, by the way, because my brain was going, I don't think this was in the book. Like, it was like, hang on a second. But to be honest, they kept that main spine, that channel, and that surprise. Like, seeing all the main characters, seeing the fucking T-Rex, seeing King Kong, and just seeing the whole way they revealed that, to me, was one of the best bits of the movie.
Super fast. So that was like your favorite scene, the one where he was doing the race, like the first time he was racing or the second time?
Both. They're both brilliant.
I think the second one is also very special. It's very funny how that, the
way they animated it through the floor,
incredible.
Oh,
incredible.
So nice. I was like, damn, guys, whoever's your special effects people, Like,
And
this
just
is legit.
Just to give you a couple of Easter eggs, like if you missed it in the movie, you've got like iconic vehicles in there from like Mach 1 from Speed Racer, the A-Team van, Mad Max's Interceptor, the red car from the horror movie Christine, the Formula One car from Pole Position, the game. You've got so many references in there, and also obviously Artemis, her motorbike.
All of them.
Her motorbike is the iconic motorbike from the anime Akira.
Oh, that was
so you got
obvious.
Tons of references in there.
And
It's
so
nice.
Zim, what was your like favorite scene?
We actually already talked about it. The Shining. The Shining. When it switched to The Shining, and the second the door opens and the blood's flowing out, I was just like, yeah baby.
Like, did you see that like movie grain, that effect over like the scene, and they were like so bright in that scene, it like all matched together, where I almost had the feeling they used like the old scenes from the movie and they put them in there. Well, they were all like CGI, right? I don't even think they were real.
I'd have to watch it again. I didn't see that.
It looked so like CGI. Like nowadays is so sick. I mean,
that's the thing. I mean, the beauty of it, right, is when you see CGI now, you know that within like 10 to 20 years, that's what we're going to be having in the headset. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
that's what I was like. Give it to me. Like all these effects, like how someone comes alive in front of you as a character. I was like, oh yeah, please. And like, Rowdy, was your like favorite?
Yeah, just 1 second, because Paradise Decay said actually that they featured the Joust characters in the final battle. They even turned into eggs when they were hit or killed.
Yeah, that's right. Like the ostriches were in the final battle. Yeah, there's people riding ostriches with jousts. Yeah, there is. Yeah, he's right.
I think since Zim already said the Shining, I'll pick something else. What I really liked was actually in the beginning, when he logs into the Oasis and he starts to starts to search for a friend. I thought it was amazing how that was done, like searching for H. And then he started like hooking up. He got like a phone line basically that he could talk to, and you could see H was on Planet Doom, I think it was called, right?
Kicking
He was like shooting everyone and like shooting things and like collecting the coins, that kind of stuff. I thought that scene was freaking awesome because you also got introduced to H, to like the other two. I don't know how it's called again.
Like, that's where the first person was like, you were actually like almost like in the headset playing at that moment.
And then that guy with the cigar who was also
that's from StarCraft, by the way.
That's Jim Raynor from
StarCraft. It was just so nice.
It was freaking awesome how they did that. Like just like the connecting, the finding friends, which we do a lot. For example, you guys remember when we played Rec Room? Like we tried to find each other, this kind of stuff, and then what are you doing now? I think that was because it was so relatable to what I would do.
An additional thing, Rowdy, on top of that, because the friend connector is awesome. I agree with that. The exit. When you get out of the Oasis, the way you disintegrate, the little pixels or whatever it is, that was so cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But as Rowdy said, like it's like almost like an introduction to the Oasis, where it's like, hey, if you want to ski on a pyramid, you can. If you want to be in Minecraft, if you want to skydive now, then it's fine. Like my favorite,
the Minecraft scene.
That was surprising.
Yeah, like that was almost like the first thing you see. Like, okay, so I'm now getting bombed with Minecraft in the first few.
Do you know what that is, by the way? That was a piece of the Lord of the Rings, and it's a Minecraft project that's been running for years and years and years. They're trying to make of Middle Earth, and there's this giant thing that you can visit. I've visited it before. It's cool. You actually have to take a test to be able to even visit. You have to pass this test to even get onto the server. It's crazy. So
go on, Nathan. What's your favorite scene?
So for me, I want to cheat a bit here because I got two scenes. The first one is they are tricking the corporation dude. How is he called again?
Sorrento.
Yeah, so they're tricking him that he's in VR, but he isn't, and then they're like, he is in VR in his office, but it's like a double like layer.
It's Inception, basically.
Yeah. So and then like he's just sitting in a chair and he has like a pistol on his head and it's like you need to, and then he's looking like this, and then they're like sitting in the back like just talking and like on the computers. That's like so funny. Like you just realize it's like, but that doesn't make any sense. There is no back door, and then he takes it off and he's looking like, but there's nothing there,
The best part of that is when he starts like feeling on his head, like don't.
Yeah. So you just see him touching the object, and the second one was like also like I think I liked the mind fucks the most, where like that scene happened, but also the one where Parzival got like his first key and he's now very famous and he goes into that big book store thing, and then like he's getting dragged by a character. He's like, yeah, you need to hide because you're famous now and you need to be careful, and then he gets dragged into like a hollow wall or something and no one can see him anymore. And then okay, how do I explain this, guys?
So basically, like Artemis is dressed up as Goro from Mortal Kombat, drags him into this room, and then does like a scene out of Alien where like a chest burster comes out, and she's like, and it's just a disguise, and she's like, let's chuck some Clark Kent glasses on you, and then you can go into a disguise, and then no one will recognize you. And they can search the journals of Halliday together. But if we're talking about like second favorite scenes, like the Distracted Globe was such a great scene. Like where they start.
What is your third favorite scene? No.
Well,
the movie.
But, like, the whole thing was pretty cool, but like the distracted scene, the Distracted Globe, where they're in the nightclub together, and then they're sort of doing the John Travolta dance moves, Saturday Night Fever stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so cool, so cool. And like just as a little Easter egg there, like when they get attacked by the Sixers in the Distracted Globe, Artemis pulls out a gun, and it's actually a pulse rifle from the Aliens movie. That's so freaking cool. I love those little bits.
Yeah. Oh man, we can talk about this for hours. Like the last battle at the end, it's like all the players they sacrifice themselves, right? To like they throw weapons at them. It's like, give me that weapon. Okay, give me now this one, and they're just throwing. It's so cool how everyone it feels like a shared movie where everyone works together and the teamwork is like just splashing off the screen. But like I think it's good that we talk about like the characters. Like I just didn't feel the outside world that much. Like it was kind of I don't know, a little boring, a little gray, a little.
But was that intentional? I just that's probably where I stand on it. Was the intent of the movie to make the outside world seem dull?
No,
because it reflects what they start the movie off with, which relates I know probably where you're going with this, which is a lot of the characters in the outside world part of the movie, a lot of the stuff from the IOI Corporation are pretty deadbeat in terms of the characters themselves. But I actually found, if there's any sins the movie makes, I think what it did to H and Artemis was awful. I think they Morpheusized both characters. H is not the person who has the hots for the main character, like in the book, and Artemis is not half as badass. They kicked her off to this kind of side character who swoons over Wade, which was not the way it was in the book. And I would have liked to see a little bit more acidic,
sass.
A little bit more sass there, a little bit more prowess.
Just to give that a bit of context, like in the book, they actually fall out. Like the three of them fall out, like Artemis, H, and Parzival. And Parzival, this is after they get the first key, because they all kind of help each other get it in a way.
Yep.
But then because they're all famous, they've all got this money. Parzival kind of, after the stacks get blown up, he like moves to Columbus, buys an apartment, gets all the best gear, and basically just locks himself in a room for like the best part of 5 to 6 months. Doesn't even talk to the other guys. He's trying to get hold of Artemis, but she's just ignoring him.
But that's the thing. Like, then the movie would have been so much longer because there was so much they had to pack in there. Like, I got a great example of like, because the relationships and the friendships in the real world weren't that great as the ones in like VR. And one of the examples I have is I didn't really care that much when they blew up his house or his camper where his aunt was living in with his uncle. Of course, the uncle was like the douchebag, but I didn't care. I was like, it blew up. I was like, oh yeah, well, okay, now his aunt is dead, I guess, so he's gonna be angry. Okay, fair enough. But I didn't care that much. And then when it wasn't Shoto, but the other guy, how was he called again?
Dato.
In VR, when he sacrificed himself, I felt sad. And it's the same for the Iron Giant, where it's like, oh no, why? But in real life, with his aunt, I didn't care. I didn't feel anything. And usually I'm pretty like the emotional guy, I can leave a tear. But
so in the book, like they do play on the emotional and the real side of it way more. And like actually like Dato actually gets murdered by IOI.
Yeah, I was like, why did they called Shoto Show, which
they did,
I don't know why they did that. I guess for character differentiation or something. But you actually just touched on it, so I don't forget. You asked me just before we started, Mike, to say what's your favorite Easter egg, right? Mine was the Iron Giant Terminator 2 meltdown. Yeah. The hand sinking into the lava was awesome. My wife was like, what was that? I was like, yeah, it was the thumbs up going into the lava. It was great. So.
Yeah, totally.
I just realized that now. Yeah,
and we're totally forgetting to talk about the skull guy. Who was he even in the book at all? I don't think so.
Yeah, so IROC is in the book, and he's actually plays a bigger part in the book. Like he's actually part of the group. Like initially, in that because H like has this basement, right, which is like filled with like trivia and arcade machines, and he invites everyone round. And IROC is part of one of the characters that comes over, and he's like he says he's a gunter, but he's like a real douchebag. No one really likes him, and he just plays this kind of character on the side. So they're not really friends in the movie, but they're more sort of they know each other better in the book.
Yeah, we got a few comments from the chat as well. We have Fluke Roji saying the main problem I had with the film was IOI. They turned them into pantomime villains.
Yeah,
it's true.
But they were okay. I thought they were okay.
They were okay.
The only thing that I didn't believe was the main character when he catches Wade up at the end, has the gun in his face, and he doesn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I was like, that wouldn't have happened. The guy would have just blown his head off. Like that's what would have happened.
Yeah.
And then PD says he has a question for us. What real life item or icon would you like to have if you were in the Oasis? And what would you do?
Yeah, they had
the
some
coin.
funny.
I want the extra life coin.
Yeah, that was awesome.
They had some funny items in there, like the holy grenade. I think was it from Worms or
no.
Like,
that's Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch from Monty Python.
Yeah, like I was waiting. He said like, yeah, I'm gonna use the holy grenade. I was like waiting for that Worms moment, but it wasn't the Worms.
Yeah. So just talking about the items, like the one item that I really liked from the movie was the Zemeckis cube, and that was the Rubik's cube, and they call it the Zemeckis cube because it was Zemeckis that made Back to the Future, and in the movie it rewinded times back to 60 seconds, and then this tune played. And that obviously sent the time back 60 seconds so they could escape the distracted globe. So that was a really, really cool item in the movie. So I would choose that one. That was a cool one.
I was really confused by that. So was the thing in the Back to the Future series that they, instead of calling it the Rubik's Cube, they called it the Zemeckis Cube? Zemeckis
Cube, yeah.
I never caught that.
Yeah. Okay. And also, like, talking about the extra life, because that was your favorite item, Zim, like, in the movie, obviously, Parzival bets the curator that Kira is referenced only once in the whole Halliday journal, and the curator's like, I'm sure that's not right, and they bet some money on it. He gives him a quarter, which is the extra life. In the book, Parzival actually discovers a Pac-Man arcade machine whilst he's doing his adventures. Exactly. And on the arcade machine, there is a quarter, like for the next player that would normally be there. Like people put their quarters on there for the next game to secure the next game. And he tries to take it, but it's stuck on the machine. So he's like, okay, that's weird. He plays a perfect game of Pac-Man, and then that quarter slips down and actually falls into his hand. And then he can't look at it. He can't do anything. It's just in his inventory. He doesn't even know what it means.
Okay.
I thought that was really well done, by the way, the way they snuck that in.
I think the shop where he went to, where you could buy all the items, was pretty cool, and also the costumes and stuff like that. If I could pick an item that I have seen in the movie, I would go for Claptrap, because I saw Claptrap in the corner from Borderlands, the robot.
Was he?
The annoying robot from Borderlands,
so annoying.
as like a sidekick for just a while, would have been so funny.
Yeah. So one thing I didn't like, and this happened at the very end. If I can just.
Rowdy's got to still say his item.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Go on, Rowdy.
I was wondering, like, we're all VR YouTubers, and not a single one of us says, I want the virtual reality system.
I was just about to, yeah.
That's the item that I want. Like, I want that virtual reality, full body tracking kind of suit with motion and everything.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
What was it called? The ZX1 or something?
Yeah, the boot suit, the Z1, the X1 boot suit, I think it was called.
Oh,
yeah.
Like combined with the treadmill, oh my! Like
the treadmill was so cool.
In like 5 or 10 years, we're gonna have that.
When he had the top-down view, when he was doing that little warm-up at the beginning, running in all the directions, that was so freaking cool, man.
Really neat,
I'm religiously against the fact that they put the Infinideck or whatever it was product in the film. Why? Because they make it look good, and having used one. It does not feel good. Do not buy one right now, okay? It feels so abnormal.
Also, like, well, the main problem I have with that, like, you know, you can walk and stuff, but the things like you don't like stairs and like, you know, uphill and downhill and those
so much
you
that
need
doesn't
some kind
work.
of like other kind of feedback.
So
but anyway. other discussion.
So I think we're like running out of time a little bit, and I'm pretty sure we could talk about this for hours. So I just want to sort of narrow it down to one final thought on the movie. So I just want to kick it off with this one final thought of mine, and that was that at the very, very end they say that they wanted to turn off the Oasis on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and I just thought that was ridiculous. I would never want that to happen, because the number one use case for the Oasis in the book is that it's an educational place to go. You know, everyone goes to school there, so it would just be impossible to turn it off on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So it didn't really make much sense in my mind, but that was the one thing I didn't particularly like about the ending.
I think the message is pretty powerful in a way in the movie, at least.
Yeah.
No, I thought that message was completely wrong, because the thing I got from that now, I got a girlfriend now, so I'm turning off the Oasis Tuesday and Thursday. Fuck you all who don't have girlfriends.
I'm all right, lads.
That stuff. But I do understand why they did that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're like afraid everyone is going to be hooked to VR soon. And, it's a good message that real life is also very beautiful in a way. You know, I like
hooked to World of Warcraft. Do you think people would be happy if they would turn out those servers off Tuesday and Thursday?
Rowdy, listen. I will face you with the biggest challenge ever. You could rub Mike's head, you know, his nice bald head, in real life, and do that and feel like everything. Or you can do it with that suit of yours. It will never be the same.
Never be the same.
That connection you feel when you it's like his head is almost like an Easter egg by itself. If you touch it, you can feel the energy flowing inside yourself.
It was the egg from the movie was modeled on my head. It's just true fact.
I know, like I've seen actually a pillow version as well. I think that movie will come out later, but stay tuned.
Yeah. So there we have it. Anything you want to add to that, Zim? Anything you want to final thoughts?
God, I think that in terms of how the movie ended, it did feel a little bit like a parachute. Like they were kind of like popping a safety parachute to say like, here's a dystopian future. You know, we don't actually think that everyone should be in VR 24/7. The number one thing I'd say for me that I had like bugbear with the film, which is something that my wife only mentioned to me afterwards, which was in one of the trailers, was first off, I'll say the massive battle. I wanted to be part of that. It really made my battlefield blood boil again and say, I need to be doing this in VR on huge scale with like hundreds of players. We have to get there. We have to get there. Please, developers, do that at some point. You know, kumbaya and whatever you need to do it. Just make that happen. But the thing that was really funny was when you see all the people running down the road with the guns and they're actually the Master Chief or whomever character. It's like, that's totally unrealistic. Half of them would have been hitting walls and stuff. That just doesn't make any sense at all. So that was. Totally. But I think all in all, just to sum up my views of the film I think it was really a good thing to happen at the right time. I know the last kind of even year, I'll say, was a bit of a lull. This is not a bad punctuation mark, but to answer your question you asked me originally, Mike, which I never actually ended up answering, is this going to push the VR market forward? No, but it's not a bad hurrah. It's a nice little hurrah that just kind of is another punctuation mark on the right road.
Go on, Rowdy, you've got something to say?
Yeah, the thing that Zim said about like the where they put like the headsets on, they're running around the streets, that is unrealistic at this point, but I do think that at a certain moment we might be able to do that.
It's a fair point.
It's really strange how our brain works. Like if you do like very small, intricate changes to your to what you're seeing, you can actually like guide people into certain directions.
I've seen that.
I've seen experiments doing that as well. It's really crazy, and I don't know if we'll ever get there, but I want to rule it out completely.
Well, you're referencing, there was a Vive experiment which I saw, and I think we've seen the same clip, where there was a guy in a space, and they were like, can I fool this player to stay in the same box by changing the corridors and slightly changing, and they were able to do it successfully. So I think that's that kind of movement system. But you said it actually, Rowdy, is what you wanted from the thing was the headset. This kind of idea of a pass-through like lens where you can see into the full world and you can actually see what the player's seeing through kind of like a reverse screen effect, so someone could look at your face and be like, oh, he's in Quake right now. That is really cool. I'd love to see a headset like that.
What I felt the most, by the way, at the end is like when they, they found all the keys and everything is over, and they come together and they meet like the brother of like the person who invented the VR Oasis. It's like, they introduce him. He's like, oh, I know you. You're, what is your real name? Blah blah. So I kind of felt like we as a group as well. We're kind of like the not high five because we're with high four. It sounds kind of dull, but I did feel like soon, like people like we're going to be in VR, and if we keep on doing our YouTube channel stuff as well, and it becomes bigger, maybe you'll have that moment where it's like everyone knows you in VR. And then it's like, but outside, oh, so you're that Nathy guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I kind of felt that. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna happen. Where it's like, hey, Mike, oh, you're that walking pillow. Oh, and this is your real version of you. Okay.
Yeah. I hope that does happen in the future. Yeah. So I just want to round up this week's show with something that one of our fans has submitted to us, and that is a riddle for you guys to solve. And maybe if you solve this riddle, then maybe we'll give away something. I'll figure something out. So
if you solve it, we'll pin him. Do that. Pin him in the comments if.
Yeah, we will. So this is from Megan Mason. She's a fan of all of ours. She comments regularly on our stuff, and we really appreciate her support. And this is the riddle that she's got. So she says, in the white and wind, 4 cars lay still. The chase is what encouraged the thrill. Though held behind bars, they are not tribal. A man and a buck wait your arrival. On his person, the ruby key will be, and through clenched brown teeth, he will proclaim, I am free. Who is she referring to? So
Can you read that one more time, Mike?
Yeah, sure. So, in the white and wind, 4 cars lay still. The chase is what encouraged the thrill. Though held behind bars, they are not tribal. A man and a buck wait your arrival. On his person, the ruby key will be, and through clenched brown teeth, he will proclaim, I am free.
Wow.
So it's a really good riddle.
That's a really good one.
This is the thing, props to her for coming up with this, because that is really, really great. That's movie worthy right there. So if you can figure it out, then let us know in the comments. We'd love to know your thoughts. And you never know, if you are right and she confirms that you are right, then maybe we'll give something away. So keep an eye on that in the very near future. But I hope you guys...
We got a few more...
Go on then,
Raddy. Here. We had someone asking, Zim, did you use the real Infinity deck, or was it one of those slippy discs like the Catwalk?
I've used a whole bunch of them. Don't know. I don't think I've used the branded Infinidec.
Okay.
That's
also,
fair.
we have people saying PlanetSide 2. I don't know if you guys know that game, but that would indeed be awesome in virtual reality.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you guys know it, right?
I know it. Yeah, I've played it.
Yeah, okay, cool. PlanetSide 2, maybe when they're running down the street and get to the end, they have to snap turn and run back.
180. Yeah.
Oh, who knows? Okay, yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, cool. So let's wrap this up. So as you probably are well aware, it's a weekly AR, VR, and MR talk show live streamed every Saturday on the Good Nathys channel. Tune in at 4 p.m. in Europe, 3 p.m. in the UK, 9 a.m. in Central US every Saturday. If you missed the podcast, you can check out the re-upload, which I do every Sunday. And then you can also check out the audio-only version, which is available on Google Play Music, iTunes, and on SoundCloud. Wow. Also, just on a note on the audio-only version, we're using a new bit of software this week, so we'd love to hear your thoughts on whether the audio quality was better this time round, or did you prefer it before? I'd love to know your thoughts. So thanks again for being part of the show, and yeah, we'll see you next week.
For the Oasis.
Cheers!
Bye-bye.
Bye.